I'd like to call this meeting of the Zion City Council to order. Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner McKinney, Commissioner McDowell,
Here.
Commissioner Fisher,
Here.
Commissioner Deteen.
Here.
Mayor Hill.
Here. Pastor Schleif.
I'd like to thank you for the opportunity to be able to open up with prayer. Precious Father, we come before you in the name of Jesus. And Lord, you call it our responsibility to lift up our leaders that have been voted in. And Father, that's what we do. Lord, your word says that we lift them up in sanctification and supplication and prayers and intercession. That, Lord, we might be able to be a land that can live in peace. And Father, we know that if there's one thing our land right now needs, it's your peace. And so we pray, Father, humbly asking that you would allow wisdom to come down from above. We thank you for the wisdom that you give men, but we've also learned not to be dependent just on the wisdom of men. And so we ask, Father, that you would allow your wisdom from on high to be at work in such a way that when we look back, we'll be able to say, surely the hand of God had to have been with this city, and in part because we are willing to humble ourselves before you. So we pray, Lord, that you would bless our elected officials. We thank you for them and for others, Lord, such as our police department and our fire department. We pray, Father, again, that there would be a witness of your Spirit, and with it, your power, and above all, Lord God, your love. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Thank you, Pastor. Please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Item number 4 is agenda changes. Do the commissioners have any agenda changes? Hearing none, is there a motion to accept the agenda as presented?
So move.
A motion
Second.
and a second. Is there discussion? Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner McDowell,
Aye.
Commissioner Fisher,
Aye.
Commissioner Deteen,
Aye.
Mayor Hill.
Aye. Item number 5 is citizens' comments. We have, first is Clyde McLemore.
Good evening, Mayor, council members. A couple of weeks ago, I was trying to find some help for a client, and commissioner was out of the country, who I usually call, even though we might fight up
You
here.
did call me, Clyde. I just didn't take your call.
Yeah, you couldn't take my call. But anyway, I want to say, I want to send a shout out to Reverend Carson, who did help and came in and helped. And just want to give you an update. The young lady and her children have got contact with CAP, and they straight to July, to next month. But she is working on some things. Matter of fact, I did a call back yesterday and spoke with the young lady. So I want to thank the city of Zion and Pastor Carlson that step up. I for you something. Oh, and I wanted to say Black Lives Matter did an excellent job this weekend. We had the father and daughter dance. And to see 25, Mr. Johnson was there. And man, you should have saw them young ladies. They was in their prom dresses, hair did, and to see fathers out dancing with their children, it was really a great turnout for our first one here in Zion. We did a father and daughter dance, and I thought that was really great. I did a for-you on the City of Zion contract for towing services. So this is Roger's contract with the City of Zion. Now I got a client who was in a car accident on Wadsworth and Green Bay. and his insurance made him get the car out. The whole thing cost, his car was totaled. Luckily, he didn't get killed in this. The whole thing was $645. So I'm like, wow, that's kind of high for a towing on the accident. According to this here, on this, it says that Rogers is supposed to charge $180 for a tow. But here on this receipt, they charge $290 for the tow. I'm just trying to see, this is receipt, and this the contract. I don't understand that. They charged him $50 to put blue tape on a window that wasn't even broke. This is ridiculous. What's happening that they're making this money off of poor people in our neighborhood? This is not what the city, and I was here when that contract was redid. I was here that night, and it's not what, I just want to say that, and maybe you can look at that, Mr. Mayor, me and you can talk about
I'll be happy to look at it. You want to bring it up here?
Yeah.
Actually, can you repeat where the accident occurred?
Wadsworth in Green Bay.
That would not be our jurisdiction, so
That's
that
right.
contract would not be with the city.
That's right. That would be with the city beach department.
Would that be county then?
Lake County
Chief?
Sheriff.
Yeah.
Oh, so Lake County Sheriff got Lake County towing, right? That's what I thought, they got the car, because I've been doing this car.
No idea, but that contract would be for the city of Zion and Rogers, not for,
Location of Wadsworth and Green Bay, yeah. Yeah,
It's
it
not the
was.
city.
So, okay.
so the fees may be different for people that are not towed at the police request.
Okay, yeah, because he, okay. All right, but it's not y'all, so I gotta go to another city.
Yes.
Thank you. I got off that time.
I guess, Mr. McLemore, I'd like to bring something else up. At the last meeting you were here, not the last meeting, but the last meeting you were here, prior to that meeting, you and I have had words often at city council meetings, and I've taken you to task for what I say are mispronouncements of the truth on some of the things you present to the city council. And I want to bring up the fact again that at that meeting, during that city council meeting, you brought up untrue information, and we're about to rush out of here until the police chief
What was that?
stopped you. You said 2 people were shot. I got to go. 2 people were shot. That's what you said at the
Yeah, I
last
got
meeting.
the,
Right.
we got-
2 people weren't shot.
Yeah, we got the right information. on
Right.
that. That was the
My
text.
point is that once again, you are talking out loud, presenting information to people, the people that were here, without having all the facts. And when I say to you that I don't believe you when you come in and a lot of things that you say, this is the exact reason, again, that you put information out that is not true.
Okay.
And I told you, every time you do it at this city council meeting, I'm going to call you on it.
Okay, and I agree. That one there, I was wrong on it, because I was sitting here and I got the text. But at the same time, that after that shooting did happen, we found out that when the police thought the bullet that went after the police, that all the Afro-Americans get stopped and get pulled out their cars until we came out and police. I went and sat, and Chief, you remember I talked to you, I told you. I sat at Salem for 2 days, 12 hours straight, just to keep the police off there and everything. So, no problem, the whole weekend.
I don't think
Chief, I talked to you Monday.
you are not a self-appointed,
police
you are a
out all
self-appointed, you are a self-appointed
like
watchdog on the Zion Police Department, and they don't need you sticking your nose into every arrest that they make. They are trying to do their job.
I do well, Kev, and I can do that.
Great.
Now, see, I was trying to
Okay.
be nice to you.
You don't have to be nice to me. I'm not asking you to be nice to me.
I ain't got no problem.
I have never asked you to be nice to me.
We both bullies.
Well, you're
You know what
done.
I'm saying?
You're done now.
No,
All I'm
you
doing
done.
is pointing out when you don't tell the truth again.
I made a mistake, and you saw me.
You
get
make
the
mistake
text.
after mistake
Okay,
after
wow,
mistake,
you didn't
and you
get
make
that.
the city look bad.
The city looks bad. Look at it.
Next on the public comment is Pastor George Schleif.
Once again, good evening, and mine is very short. And I wanted to come and thank the police department. I feel they do an excellent job. I feel they put up with an awful lot, and they don't get enough thanks with the stuff they have to put up with. And I think there are times when the very people who are complaining, when they're the ones that are in trouble, are there to call the police, and they're right there to help them. And I thank you for that. Secondly, for those of you who may not be aware, I am the pastor of Wesley Church, and we have up to, during the summer it's a little bit lower, about 70 young men from Zion, some young ladies, and we have a program there. And during the school year, it can be as high as up to 200. And part of the reason why I'm thankful for the police is because these guys will sometimes get at it. And we've had a couple of police officers there that have been kind enough in a very cordial, very controlled manner to help bring peace back to our situation when these guys get out of hand. And I also like to thank the city for just their acknowledgement of the work and the bus, the mini bus, and we are so thankful and plan to use that to pick up some of the young people here in Zion and continue to work with them. And again, I'm thankful, our church is thankful, and on behalf of many, more than I think many of you may realize, there's a large community of us who are extremely thankful for you. Thank you.
Thank you. Item number 6 is a consent agenda. Would the clerk please read the consent agenda?
Approval of minutes of the budget workshop held June 6, 2017 at 6 p.m. A regular meeting held June 6, 2017 at 7 p.m. And approval but not release of closed session minutes of a meeting held on June 6, 2017 at 7:45 p.m. Bills, vouchers 126619 through 126723 drawn on First Merit Bank, total $133,236.82.
I'll make a motion, we approve the consent agenda.
We have a motion
Second?
and a second. Is there discussion? Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Padowell?
Aye.
Commissioner Fisher?
Aye.
Commissioner Deteen?
Aye.
Mayor Hill?
Aye. Item number 7 is consider passing resolution as follows. A, resolution of commendation, Lee Enright, 20 years of service. And the resolution of commendation reads as follows. 17-R-28, whereas Lee Enright has completed 20 years of dedicated and loyal service to the city of Zion, and whereas said Lee Enright has not only won great admirations for his service to the Zion Public Works Department from city officials and fellow employees, but from Zion residents whom he serves willingly and enthusiastically, and whereas it is the desire of the City Council, on behalf of the citizens of this community, to express sincere and profound appreciation to Lee Enright for giving generously of his time and efforts. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the City Council of the City of Zion extends to Lee Enright its humble expression of esteem for serving faithfully and well, and extends its best wishes for continued employment, good health, success, and prosperity for many years to come. Be it further resolved that a copy of this resolution be spread upon the minutes of the council and a suitable copy presented to him. Dated at Zion, Illinois, this 20th day of June, 2017. Mayor Albert Hill, Lloyd Deteen, Mike McDowell, Billy McKinney, and Christopher Fisher. Lee, you want to come on up? Ron? Come on up. Right in the middle. Thanks, Al. Get back a little bit. Thank you. Is there a motion to pass the resolution?
So moved.
Have a motion
Second.
and a second. Is there discussion? Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner McDowell?
Aye.
Commissioner Fisher?
Aye.
Commissioner Deteen?
Aye.
Mayor Hill?
Aye. Consider passing ordinances as follows, and number 8 is consider passing ordinances as follows. 8A is adopting prevailing wage rates to be paid to laborers, mechanics, and other workers performing construction for public works per Mayor Hill. You have a prevailing wage schedule in front of you. This is required by state statute, and I'm looking for a motion to approve the prevailing wage ordinance.
So moved.
Have a motion
So moved.
and a second. Is there discussion? Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner McDowell?
Aye.
Commissioner Fisher?
Aye.
Commissioner Deteen?
Aye.
Mayor Hill?
Aye. Item number 8D is amending Chapter 56 of the Zion Municipal Code pertaining to liquor control ordinance regarding limitation on number of licenses and hours of business per Mayor Hill. You have a ordinance in front of you. On page 2, you see the change in number of liquor licenses. On a Class A, we're going from 6 to 4. These are basically full liquor licenses that are available in restaurants, and we have had 2 restaurants not reapply for their liquor licenses, and we want to take it down immediately just so there's not an open license. And the second change is on Class K. On the second line down, that's on page 3. On the second line down from the top, it says Monday through Thursday, 7 a.m. to 12 a.m., and that should be Sunday through Thursday.
I was going to ask.
Yeah, they are open on Sundays. And they're asking for a change from Monday, it's Friday and Saturday is what they're looking for, from 7 a.m. to 2 a.m. We're extending their hours to 2 a.m.
So that's Monday through Thursday and Sunday, 7 a.m. to 12 a.m.?
Yes.
Okay. And
So it
Friday
would
and
be-
Saturday, 7 to 12?
Yeah, so it'd be Sunday through Thursday, till Sunday through Thursday
Okay.
till 12, and then Friday and Saturday till 2.
All right. And why was there a change in the, a proposed change in Class Y? Or did you say
This was, originally there were 2 Class Ys. One of them was Pit Stop, and the other was Fritz's Corner.
Okay.
And Pit Stop was a donut hole, and it was a forced annexation to the city. The Fritz's Corner was a voluntary annexation to the city. And the difference between the X and the Y, they were an X, said that if they wanted to change ownership, that license would then be gone and they would never be able to use it again. We've had absolutely no trouble with Fritz's Corner. They've been a good neighbor. They donate to a lot of things, and they asked if they could then also get a Y license, which means that they could change.
It's transferable.
Ownership. It's transferable, right, that's it. One was non-transferable and the other was.
Yeah.
So, thank you for the proper term. So, is there a motion?
So moved?
You have a motion
Second.
and a second? Is there discussion? Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner McDowell?
Aye.
Commissioner Fisher?
Aye.
Commissioner Deteen? Mayor Hill?
Aye. Item 9 is discussion, authorization, and approval. Item 9A is consider zoning docket 17C-3 regarding a special use permit for automotive sales at 2809 Damascus as petitioned by BC Automotive per Director Ianson. Planning and Zoning Commission recommends approval.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Steve Slocum of BC Automotive is seeking a special use permit for automotive sales. Currently, under state auto salvage license, he can sell up to 4 vehicles a year. With a special use permit, he could obtain a state automotive sales license. Once he obtains a state license, he would like to sell 10 to 12 vehicles a year. These vehicles would not be displayed on a lot for the public. They would be stored behind a fenced yard and only advertised online. At the June 1st Planning and Zoning Commission meeting, they recommended approval of the special use.
Is there a motion?
So moved?
A motion? Is a second? Is there discussion?
So this is basically like the parts business, except for these are whole automobiles,
Correct.
and they're going to be behind the fence just like everything else?
Correct.
Is there further discussion? Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner McDowell?
Aye.
Commissioner Fisher?
Aye.
Commissioner Deteen?
Aye.
Mayor Hill?
Aye. Item 9B is consider approval of intergovernmental agreement among the member agencies of the Major Crash Assistance 2017 MCAT, Lake County, Illinois, per Chief Dumian.
Thank you, Mayor and Commissioners. The Zion Police Department has a need to enter into an intergovernmental agreement among the member agencies of the Major Crash Assistance Team, MCAT, of Lake County, Illinois. Our agency recognizes the fact that efficient investigation of serious crashes is enhanced when agencies have access to the resources and support of other agencies. Further, it is recognized that a primary goal in the investigation of serious crashes is to establish an accurate record of factors and conditions leading up to the traffic crash. The purpose of this agreement is to provide the means whereby assistance and resources are provided through the intergovernmental cooperation of the member agencies to achieve these goals. Our intent is to use the services of MCAT for accidents resulting in severe great bodily harm or fatalities. I respectfully request the City Council approve the attached intergovernmental agreement among the member agencies of the Major Crash Assistance Team. The membership fee of $750 is an approved budget expense in this year's budget.
Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion that we approve the intergovernmental agreement with MCAT.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there discussion? Chief, what are the other member agencies in this?
I do not know. I know that Lincolnshire is probably the one agency that heads it up. I've been in contact with the gentleman from their agency that will put on the training for our staff. Basically, this is similar to the Lake County Major Crime Task Force, where we call out additional resources for serious accidents. MCAT uses laser measuring and drones to photograph and measure. We don't have access to that type of equipment. We also don't have officers trained to the level that these individuals are trained at this time.
We have a motion and a second. Is there further discussion? Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner McDowell?
Aye.
Commissioner Fisher?
Aye.
Commissioner Deteen?
Aye.
Mayor Hill?
Aye. Item 9C, consider approving budget for fiscal year May 1, 2017 through April 30th, 2018 per Director Navel.
Thank you, Mayor and Commissioners. At the last meeting, we approved the budget for the general fund of the city. What you have before you is all the remaining funds. We did discuss quite a few of these at prior budget workshops, but this is the compilation of everything. I'm just going to kind of go through each fund, very rough, high-level explanation, and then if you have any questions, feel free to stop me along the way or afterwards. E911 fund, that one's changing a little bit just because of the consolidation with Gurnee. The $180,000 that we have there isn't an exact amount because we're still looking at the structure of how the reimbursements are going to happen and what we're going to be purchasing. So what you see there is a revenue, which would be a reimbursement from the JETSB, the joint ETSB, and it just matches the expense. So whatever we end up getting approved by the JETSB or we submit for reimbursement, it'll be a net zero, so it may adjust up and down as needs come forward. The Newport Fire Station Fund, that's a contractual agreement based on prior annexation. We've had this in the past. We have to give the Zion Newport Fire Station Fund some property taxes that they would have received prior to annexation, and we have a contractual agreement with them because we're not building the station per the original agreement to distribute those funds 50-50 for general operating purposes. So again, that's just the money coming in from the fire fund, which is where the taxes are collected, and going out 50-50 between the two.
Now, I know I've asked this before, but I can't remember your answer. How long does this go on?
It goes on in perpetuity as far as
I was going to ask the same question, and with the follow-up, can we renegotiate that?
It's possible. I mean, we renegotiated the split just because the fund balance was growing, but renegotiating to try and get anyone to give up money nowadays is probably not going to happen. But ultimately, it's one of those things like if we hadn't annexed that area, they would have still been receiving the funds. It's something that we could try, but I think right now it might be a 99-year contract. I'd have to take a look at it though. But currently, this is what we're obligated to contractually. The Emergency Service Rescue Fund and the Fire Protection Fund, the next two you have there, are just special revenue funds where we levy for fire and rescue, and then those funds get transferred to the general fund to cover the related expenses.
Where did $571,257 come from?
That is a deficit created by a change in accounting method from prior years. Basically, the recognition of revenue as a receivable versus a deferred. It was a tiny thing, I want to say back in late 90s. So it's one of those things like it's a book deficit that we can over time transfer less just to get out of that. But we're just doing a net zero for now until we get a better financial picture to be able to transfer less to the general fund. Street and Bridge Fund, again, another special tax levy. We discussed this in length and what the projects, you see the breakdown of the projects there. So no change from what was presented at the budget workshops. The IMRF fund is, IMRF fund and FICA fund are basically tax levies to cover the Illinois Municipal Retirement Fund and also Social Security and Medicare. We have had deficits on those in the past, and you can see we are digging out of that hole. The plan was over a 3 to 5 year period. And that's, that's why we're transferring less than what we're taking out on those until we get back to a positive balance. The TIF 1 fund, this is the last year on the fund, the final collections. All the TIF funds that we're going to talk about here were presented to the TIF boards and recommended to come to council for approval. So really we have the general contractual obligations that we had on the TIF and some final closeouts. And the streetscape project is the largest portion on there that was approved at a prior meeting. And then some dome refurbishing as well that we have budgeted in there.
David, around when will the streetscape project begin?
Scheduled to start the last week of June.
And will they have time to get it done before winter, do you expect?
We have to.
I know you have to. Sometimes they don't.
I want to say it's, I could be wrong, it's either 90 or 120 day contracting with the specs were written, to make sure it was done in time.
TIF 3, which is the South Sheridan Rd TIF, same thing. We did budget for some TIF grants that we have outstanding. Also, we just put bookmarks in there, or placeholders for potential installment incentives for projects that come up. Obviously, if nothing comes up during the year or nothing develops from pursuing developments, that will carry over in the balance as we continue to go forward. If something great comes through that we need to adjust these amounts up, we can do that with a budget amendment and approval of an incentive agreement too. So it's just a placeholder to kind of show what we've got in the funds, what we're planning.
If there were a big project that came in and we had to spend significantly higher than this, would we have trouble adjusting the budget and appropriation ordinance? Or are you going to put all of that in here?
Correct. I'm going to put everything in there as an appropriation ordinance, which is the legal maximum we're allowed to spend. But the budget's the internal guideline that we use, which we kind of are more conservative with. The bond series for Series 2012A, that was all paid off in fiscal year 17, so that's not repeating. Series 2013, which is TIF 3, is just the principal and interest and fees on that bond. Lakebound Cemetery is an amount that we basically inherited when we took that over, and we mow it, maintain it, and charge public works costs to that fund as incurred. Water and sewer fund, we went over in pretty good detail at a prior budget workshop, so nothing significant has changed with what was presented there.
Where is the transfer from water and sewer to the general fund? I don't see.
That is actually on page 6, right about the middle of the page.
Okay.
Transfer to general fund, $200,000. The debt service fund is basically where all general fund debt obligations and bond obligations come out of. Funds get transferred to this fund county-wise, and then the principal and interest gets paid out of that fund. The capital projects fund is probably the most significant of all these as far as discussion. But we did talk about I want to say it was the first budget workshop about capital expenditures that we needed coming up. The first couple of items under capital expenditures on there all talk about leases and the payment numbers. Those are already committed funds, but you can see we have payment 5 of 5, 3 of 3, and we had another one that dropped off. So we talked about getting some capital expenditures in this fiscal year that we would finance, with the first installment being in fiscal year 19, next fiscal year, and we would use the payments that drop off of here basically to stay on there next year. So the purchase, what we put was a list of all of the equipment that we talked about under that lease agreement that we would use. You can see other financing sources there, $1,645,000. That would fund all of those purchases, and then we'd have a 5-year installment agreement on that, pretty close to what was dropping off and freeing up as far as cash goes in that fund.
Where are you at, David? I'm sorry, I'm
Page
lost.
7, capital projects fund.
Yeah.
So for capital expenditures, there's 4 lease payments that we already have, public works lease, police, fire. Those are the ones we already had, we're already contractually obligated for.
Right.
Then the list all below that is the list that we talked about of capital improvements from our capital replacement plan that we would be financing. So we do have to show the purchase of that equipment in this year, but then we also show the revenue coming from the financing right above that, $1,645,000.
So if we're not purchasing it until next fiscal year, why is it listed here? Or maybe you just answered
This
that.
fiscal year.
Well, it says our first lease payment isn't until fiscal year 19.
Right, so we finance the money now, we purchase the equipment now, so we have to pay all the vendors, but it's like you're taking out a loan, you get the money now, but you give it over to somebody to purchase the equipment, and then our first payment on our loan will be next year.
All right.
So we have to show that we're purchasing all this equipment, but the revenue basically matches the expense, and then next year what we'll have is a lease payment that we budget for.
Does this approval of this budget commit us to purchase all of these apparatus?
Gives us the authority to.
Okay, but we don't have to.
We don't have to, but, I mean, we'll have to, a lot of these things we need to get going on pretty quickly because a lot of it gets built and, you know, it might be free, like squad cars, for example, for purchasing, outfitting. It's a long process. We're already a couple months past where we wanted to get the process started, but.
I thought that we had talked on the $572,658,000 for a fire engine replacement. We talked about a couple different numbers, and I can't remember, was this the high number or the low number?
That's the high end. I mean, we're negotiating right now, looking at different vehicles, and none of them are that high.
Okay.
Yeah, if we don't need to go that high, if we were able to get something for $350,000, for example, then that's what we finance. That was the one that we were talking about carving out into a separate lease, because that one is dependent on, to keep the payments basically the same of what's dropping off, we would do everything under a 5-year lease, but the engine would be a 10-year lease to spread out the cost, and it would have that sort of life. So we don't have to include that with the lump sum total of the initial lease if we start getting the squad cars going and things like that.
Can I ask that we just put a flag on that so that we are, we get an update on where we are and the pricing on that? Because I want to go into that with our eyes open. I would hate to get down the line and say, this is what we kind of negotiated, and it ends up being, you know, $520,000 or whatever it would be. I'd just like to get a heads up on where we are before we actually have to say, okay, let's go ahead and get that.
That's why I asked her if we were
I
obligated.
guess I'm with you.
Yeah.
The thing is, when you're working with the vendors, because it's a 1-year build out, so whatever if we sign a contract today, it's 10 to 12 months before it's delivered.
Right.
The only thing I can't do, and that's why I've been waiting for this to be approved, I can't keep edging the vendors on saying, we will, until we have something in the budget to say, yes, I have money allotted to put towards that.
Okay, I got that. But I want to be sure that before we say we will, we make a commitment to how much we're going to spend. I don't want this to be the number.
I can tell you right now, that won't be the number.
Okay, great. But I just want to know what it is before you say, you can say, I
tell you
will, I
the
will.
number will not exceed 500,000, most likely won't exceed 475.
Okay, what I want to be sure is when you say, I will, before you get to the third I will, we don't want to know
Yeah, I
what the
think-
number is.
Yeah, this is
I
gonna
get
come
that, I
back.
just need a number in here so that I can tell a vendor it's approved, we can move forward.
So
Okay.
what David said, this is authorization, it's not approval.
Correct.
Yeah.
Ultimately, we'll have to come back for council for approval of the lease and the actual purchase of the equipment. So, but this kind of gives us, all the departments, the green light to say, okay, let's roll for, 3 inspector vehicles, let's
Yeah.
get the quotes on it and get them purchased, so.
And I would like to bring up one more thing, and if Director Ironson doesn't come out of his chair and kill me, we've got 3 vehicles on here, and we've already made a commitment to get one of them, and it's on order, and by the time we get it, we'll have this paid. But I had talked about possibility of either getting electric vehicles for the building department or hybrids. And I would like to have, before we get any farther on these two, have somebody investigate, perhaps it would be Ron and Rich together, on whether we can maintain electric vehicles, whether we can maintain hybrids, whether it will actually cost us, be cost savings for us, aside from the environmental issues that might be small and tiny, but I guess I'd like to at least have that investigated.
We can do that. We'll try to do as quick as possible, but everyone has to understand something. The clock's ticking on all these orders, because what happens is, and I don't know how it works with the police department, but you're gonna end up in another model year, and most of these are all being purchased through state bid process. That they've already been awarded statewide. So like a service truck for Lee or somebody is coming from somewhere in southern Illinois. If we prolong this any further, we're gonna be in the next season, and that bid spec and that bid document could expire on us. And we're hoping none of these have already expired. Some of these might have expired on some of
I
them.
think Rich's expires June 30th.
Rich,
Rich
correct.
is saying one of our staff cards June 30th is
Okay,
the
I
expiration.
guess, tell me if I can do this or not. I don't know if this is open meetings violation. Can I ask that the council give us approval if we have those 2 guys look into this very quickly, and if we can get them with either electric or hybrids or something, give them the authorization to get those. If they can't, and we really can't have them in the city, then authorization to go ahead with the other ones. Okay, I guess this,
Oh, is that the 3 inspector vehicle replacements? Is that what
that would be
is?
2 following that. And I guess I'd like to look at doing something different than gasoline with all of our vehicles at some point.
Well, that's what we have to find out. We have to find out whether or not the state actually even bid out a hybrid or bid out.
Right, but,
Okay, and the next question I have is, what if the price of that vehicle exceeds the price of what he's already spec'd out? You don't know the cost savings until you actually implement I'm just bringing up all the worst-case scenarios. Till you implement that vehicle into the fleet, you're not gonna know what your savings are on fuel until after you have it.
we might be able to get a feel for it by talking to other municipalities that have already done this. I have to believe someone's got electric vehicles.
I'm sure in
And
California
find
and
out
other
if-
places like that.
I'm guessing.
You knew I had to do
Yeah,
that.
I knew you had to say something like that. But I just think it's something worth investigating. And if you guys don't mind, I'd like to see if we can head that direction. And we at one point talked about,
We have to plug them in somewhere.
yeah,
That's a whole
So
nother
that
issue.
costs money too.
yeah, but I'd like to see the difference.
Sure.
Well, I'm not trying to poo-poo your idea there, but if it's not on the state website that we're already using that shows them, then.
I'd like to see, I mean, and
I would
I
assume it's not there then.
I might like to see we don't have to go to the state bid. If we could get something cheaper at a local dealer.
You'll just have to wait for the bid process then.
Well, then we would waive the bid process for those, I think, if we do that, or put it out to bid for just a regular dealer to provide. If it's cheaper, then the state bid on the vehicle that they want.
He's gonna-
Wait, of course-
I'll assist him once he tells us what he's looking for.
Oh, I know what he's looking for. He's already told me what he's looking for.
Well, what are you looking for?
It's different than what I'm looking for, though.
What are you looking for?
I'll be honest with you, we haven't spec'd out anything. It just came up in the last couple of weeks.
Yeah. We like trucks,
Okay,
big trucks. So I like to,
so that's.
because we're
Am I
talking at
reading
one
this
point
right?
about
That's
doing propane.
75,000? Is that what this is?
Yeah.
For 3.
For three.
So,
I'm looking at 2. We've already ordered 1.
so what are you asking for?
I don't know. I'm asking for, can we, if we can get electric, can we go with electric? Would you guys have an objection to that? If the people that have to work with them every day say, okay, let's try it. If they investigate it and say, let's try it.
Yeah.
Okay. I just want to,
I would support it, yes.
I don't want anybody saying, what
But
did
I
you do?
I don't want to hold up
I'm skeptical
No.
about it, but
Process.
sure,
I know,
you can
I know.
investigate it.
Okay.
and end up losing, as I said, end up losing the bids that we currently have.
Right. That would only apply to these 2 vehicles. The third one is already ordered on the state bid, is it not?
And if we
The
can't
third
do
one's already ordered.
it this time,
That's correct.
then
Let's
we
look at
definitely
that.
need to plan for it in the future.
Okay. I'm ready to get the police department electric golf carts to run around in.
Whatever it takes, the same one.
So much for that pursuit.
All right.
Okay, I'm sorry, David.
That's all right. I knew it was coming. Waste collection fund, that is just the waste fees that we charge and the contractual with Advance for the number of units that they pick up garbage on.
And what again is the 382,862?
382,862. That was from a while ago when rates hadn't been changed for 10 years. The fund was, basically the water fund was supplementing a deficit within that fund. We adjusted the rates to pay back the water fund for, and basically dig out of the hole. At one point, it was $1 million deficit. And we've been digging out of that hole. Basically, it was over a 5-year period, and we're in like year 3 of 5.
Okay, and it's my recollection that a few years back, the city did an audit with the waste collection agencies and found out that we were not billing for that they were picking up less than, that we were getting shortchanged. Do we have any plans for an audit anytime soon?
Those accounts are actually being updated quarterly with them now. And we've agreed with them on our unit counts from our billing registers, that we just submit that to them and they bill us that quantity, whether it's up or down. Because we track that, the ins and outs basically on residential closures of service or signing up for service for water.
Okay, thank you.
The next couple are just road bonds. So the first one, the funds come from MFT. In that Series 2012B. The second one comes from the Calpine funds. So that's just the debt service on those.
Are those both dedicated, that they have to be spent for roads?
The motor fuel tax has to be spent for roads.
That's down below, right?
That's the Series 2000, well, yeah, we have the motor fuel tax fund, which will be next. But that's the
Oh.
Series 2012B road
Those are
bond
motor
fund.
fuel, okay, so those
Right.
have to be spent for roads.
Yes.
The Calpine one does not.
We'd have to
But it
take,
can.
I'd have to look back at the contract and see what the intent of those funds were once they're freed up after the debt service, but they were committed as a revenue source.
Right,
The
and an
Calpine funds were committed as a revenue source towards the bonds.
An alternate revenue bond.
Correct.
Okay.
The motor fuel tax fund was another one that we discussed in detail at one of the budget workshops, and there's no changes from what was discussed there. Liability insurance fund is similar to like the fire protection fund. It's a special tax levy that we transfer to the general fund to cover all of our liability insurance premiums, basically all of our risk policies. Local law enforcement fund, that's basically court fines and fees that we collect, that's restricted for police-related activities. Drug traffic prevention funds, similar. We get funds when we have forfeitures on buses that are in town with cash. That also has to be used specifically for drug traffic-related mitigation. The Industrial Development Fund, that's the Calpine. I have an error on that. I don't have the amount for the host fees in there. But we're expecting that that's gonna be consistent with the prior year. So it's not actually a $263,000 deficit as I showed there. What it'll be is $419,000 in revenue, $419,061.
And we don't have a beginning fund balance or deficit?
That clears out every year.
Okay.
Whatever comes in from the Calpine fees, the debt service obligation gets taken out first, and the remainder gets transferred to the general fund.
Okay.
So it's a net zero. So you'll have $419,061 of revenue. That does get adjusted annually by CPI, but since CPI has been relatively flat, we just basically budget the same as last year. Once the CPI that we use for the invoice to them comes out in July, we'll know the actual amount, but that'll just change the amount that goes to the general fund.
All right, so that's actually a balance. The
Correct.
ending fund has a balance.
It'll be a zero again, because we'll have the $419,061 coming in, and then it's also missing the amount going to the transfer fund, which is the net.
All right.
Between those two. So I apologize for not putting that number in there. I'm sorry, what was that? Somebody says, oh. The hotel motel tax fund, that's money that we get from the 5% hotel motel tax on hotels in town that we use for promotion and tourism. We have the Nostalgia Days subsidies for the contract to the chamber, also the Jubilee Days subsidies. We allocate $34,000 for a grant program every year. Once this is approved, if it's approved at that amount, next council meeting will actually have the hotel motel tax grant application recommendations for approval as well that have been submitted to the city. And then we have shared costs for staff time and city time spent, on promotional events within the city and the fund itself. The Jubilee Days Fund, we have that excluded out of here because that was all contracted out to the chamber as well. So that's all their funds and expenses now. And then the self-insurance fund is, because we're self-insured for health insurance, every department based on employees and what level of coverage they're signed up for transfers money out of the general fund to this fund to cover related health claim expenses.
And
that's that.
yeah, why are we starting with the deficit there?
That's been an accumulation, again, of costs being higher than predicted for health claims coming in higher than what was predicted by the consultant. We did increase, you can see on the first line there, the insurance premiums, we have a 10% increase in the transfer coming over. We're starting out with a $681,000. We're expecting then a $447,000 at the end of the year, and we'll continue to do that until we dig out of that hole.
Okay.
But it goes up and down based on claims in a given year.
Yeah.
Director Nabel, could you go back to page 4?
Sure.
If I read this correctly, when you flip to page 5, we're showing total revenue of $4,691,500.
Correct.
And then, are we operating that at a deficit? Because I'm showing
No.
expenses of $4,740,000.
But we are showing a $49,000 deficit.
Right.
Correct.
Why?
I don't know for the water and sewer fund. Oh yeah, because we did the transfer. We have the $200,000 transfer out to the general fund.
Okay. Thank you.
I remember the 49.
Yeah.
And you wasn't on
We were at $250,000.
Is there a motion?
Move to approve.
We have a motion to approve the budget.
Second?
And we have a second? We have a motion and a second? Is there discussion?
Thank you, David.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner McDowell?
Aye.
Commissioner Fishers?
Aye.
Commissioner Deteen? Mayor Hill?
Aye. Item number 10 is departmental commentary. Do any of the department heads have anything that they would like to add?
There I have, I'm not gonna pick on you. There's been questions from some of the residents, and there's also been questions from members of the council. We've been notified by IDOT that a lot of the state projects that have been letted or dispersed through them. There's gonna be a shutdown on June 30th. I just want everyone to know that the city's road program will not be affected by that. It'll be completed prior to that. The Lorelei Drive program, which was 80% federally funded, that's going to be completed before June 30th as well, so that one will not be affected. The only thing that will be affected is it's going to be putting our patching program on hold. We won't be able to do the citywide patching in the various areas until we know how this is going to pan out with them. This happened a couple years ago, went a couple weeks. This one may go a little bit longer. I'm not sure.
Ron, do you know if the Lewis Avenue project will be?
I got a call into the county on that. I would have to go back in my files to see if that was an SDP program as well. I think it might have been partially funded by the feds. After the 30th, whether or not they're going to shut them down completely, I'm hoping not, because it's hard to navigate through there right now, let alone if it comes to a halt.
Yeah.
I didn't get a call back today from one of the engineers down at Lake County DOT, so I'll let everybody know as soon as I know.
I know the funding isn't from the state on the TIF project, but would getting a response from them on intersections and things like that, will that be affected by this?
It shouldn't, that's part of their daily job. I mean, it's not like IDOT's going on strike, but I think some of the funded projects are gonna put a hold on because I don't know if they know how they're gonna pay their vendors. And you would think the ones that the federal funding that they administer should be a pass-through from them to IDOT, to the contractor.
As long as there's somebody sitting at a desk at IDOT.
Right, but it's not like they're gonna walk, they're walking out, but,
And they're not laying people off or anything like that.
not to not to I'm aware of. It's a leverage move, there's no doubt about it.
Okay. Anything else from the department heads? Item number 11 is announcement, June 24th, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m., Trash to Treasure lawn sale at Shiloh Boulevard and Elisha Avenue to benefit the Zion Historical Society. July 4th, city offices closed for the holiday. July 5th, 7 p.m., Zion City Council meeting. Item number 12 is a closed session pursuant to 5 ILCS 120/2, open meetings, for the discussion of pending litigation, personnel, and collective bargaining. Is there a motion to go into closed session? So moved. Second. A motion? Second. And a second. Discussion? Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner McDowell?
Aye.
Commissioner Fisher?
Aye.
Commissioner Deteen?
Aye.
Mayor Hill?
Aye.